Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. In this video, we're going to be talking about why it's not actually market cap that matters, okay? This is what everybody really thinks is something that is important in crypto or anything, but especially in crypto, and it's a really big logical fallacy, and I want to start breaking down why that is, okay? Because we talk about it a lot, but nobody really takes the time to explain it, okay? And I think the problem is that we kind of try to rank all of the cryptocurrencies by market cap as if that's somehow a metric of them being better or worse than another coin in terms of price potential. But, the two things really have nothing to do with each other at all. Market cap, what it theoretically is circulating supply times price. Okay, that's all it is. And now people get into all these arguments about how do we define circulating supply. And in general, by coin ranking sites, such as the ones that we don't like to name because they're biased, but most coin ranking sites like to use the total supply of all coins in existence. At least that's what they use for Bitcoin as an example, even though we know there's millions and millions of Bitcoin that Satoshi mined himself that have never moved from their original wallets that are, dormant, one might say. But again, there's all kinds of nuanced ways that we can count what actually qualifies as circulating or not circulating. However, in the majority of mainstream coins, this meaning especially Bitcoin, the general consensus is let's just take all the total circulating supply of all the coins that currently exist and multiply that by the price, and that gives you the market cap. But this is really a useless metric, okay? The metric that matters to you is liquidity, okay? Liquidity is a subset of total supply. Liquidity is the actual amount of supply that's available on the market, right? So, for example, if I say, what's the market cap of bananas, and I want to multiply the price of one banana times all the banana trees that are currently in existence that will ever grow, that's like an impossible metric to calculate, first of all, and it's meaningless, too. Because what I should really be asking is how many bananas are liquid when I go to the store? How many bananas are on the shelf when I go to the store and I want to purchase a banana, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm trying to convey the idea that liquidity is always a very, very small subset of total supply. And in Bitcoin, for example, it's estimated that 78% or more of the supply is illiquid or not on the market. It's not for sale. It's the same reason nobody asks about what's the market cap of real estate. What's the total value of every single house in the entire country times the price of all the houses. Nobody cares about that. They care about what are the prices of houses generally in this area when they're for sale. Because the liquid supply of an asset is never equal to the total supply of that asset. Okay, I'm going to say that again. The liquid supply is never equal to the total supply, and the liquid supply, being a subset of total supply, is the only metric that matters to you. Obviously, other than price, of course. So, when Richard Hart says something like you can't make money on the market cap chart, that's because you cannot trade on the market cap chart. You can't buy a coin that's going up in market cap and then sell it. And the reason for that is this, right? Let's say I make a coin. I make 100 million of these coins, and I sell one to myself for $1. Technically, the price of that coin is $1 because that's the last transaction that happened. That's the last trade that occurred. $1 times 100 million equals $100 million, and the market cap is basically manipulated to be $100 million. So this is why market cap is really a vanity metric. It's a metric that can be gamed to move up the ranking charts, but it really has no effect on the price growth. So what you care about, what we all care about in crypto, is making money, all right? In Hex and Pulse Chain, we never beat around the bush on that. This whole thing is about making money. Obviously, global financial revolution and financial freedom and all these nice things come along with that, right? But we can admit that we're here to make a little money, all right? Especially with Hex, which was designed to increase in price. And it was also designed to have a high market cap, frankly, just to look good on the charts. But that really should not mean anything to you, okay? That was just to get it in front of your faces. Now, the liquid supply, now another logical fallacy that people are probably going to make is, well, if liquidity is the only thing that matters, if the liquid supply is the only thing that matters, then more liquidity equals better. Wrong, okay? That's very, very wrong. That is the absolute wrong way to think. That's like saying, more food is better. Like, no, if you keep eating more food, you're going to get fat. If you have too little food, you're going to be, like anorexic, and you're not going to be healthy either way. You want to have just the right amount of food, okay? You want to have just the right amount of liquidity for the volume and the demand of your coin. So the supply must meet the demand. So the liquid supply must fluctuate to meet the volatile demand in the market. And that's not to mention with coins like Hex, they're not actually designed to be traded. They're designed to be bought held and locked up for years and years, which is what's happened. You know, they're locked up on average for 6 years, the average length stake in Hex. So that's another logical fallacy too. Coins don't have to do a lot of volume in order to go up in price either. Because what if the main point of the coin is to buy it and hold it and take it off the market? Well, then there wouldn't be a lot of volume in that coin. So people looking at these metrics like market cap and volume, well, market cap is based on total supply, which we already talked about doesn't matter. Volume doesn't necessarily matter either. It's just an indication of how many people are trading. Volume only matters as a metric to determine about how much liquidity should be in a market. And even then, it doesn't really matter that much. So it's stupid, guys. Liquidity just needs to be enough to match demand. Okay, there is such a concept as liquid enough, right? That's okay. So I remember back in the early days of Uniswap v1, Hex actually helped make Uniswap popular. Back in those days, I don't know if you guys remember this, but if you were there for it in 2019, it was crazy. I mean, Hex was 40% of all volume on Uniswap v1, which is, again, a little history lesson. And it's why we say that Hex made Uniswap popular. It really did for a long while. It was the primary trading pair on Uniswap. And then other coins caught on, and Hex has really set a lot of trends in this regard. And other coins caught on, and at one point, Hex was among the top 10 or so top liquidity pairs on Uniswap v1. And quickly it was pushed down to, maybe number 30 to 40-ish where it is today, which is really not that big of a deal, right? Because as we said, the coin just needs to be liquid enough. However, back in those early days when Hex was trend-setting again, a lot of other coins came and they saw Hex in the top liquidity pair on Uniswap v1, and they also mistakenly took that for a metric that matters, when in reality we're here for the price chart, right? It's very, very simple. People overcomplicate it. We're here for the price chart, but what coins would try to do is really funny. They would try to lock up a whole bunch of liquidity, in order for that to be a bragging point about why the coin was so good. Guys, what happened to a couple of these coins that had a whole bunch of locked liquidity was their liquidity was permanently locked in these liquidity pools in Uniswap, so much so that nobody could ever buy enough of it to make the price budge at all. See, it's like, imagine you have a mug in your hand, right? And this mug is empty. And you want to buy your coin, you want to scoop up some water into your mug. Now, if you're scooping out of a bucket of water, well, you scoop your water, you get your coin or whatever, and the bucket of water has a lot less liquid in it relative to the amount of liquid it had before, because the size of the mug relative to the bucket is bigger. Now let's say we take that same cup and we try scooping some water out of the ocean. Well, the overall volume of the ocean doesn't change at all. You're not even going to notice it because it's freaking huge, right? So the volume of water in your cup relative to the ocean is very, very small. So it's the opposite, right? So when you have these giant oceans of liquidity, it becomes so hard to move the price up or down or anything at all because it's like you're basically trying to scoop up all the water in the ocean with a cup. Whereas with the bucket example, people taking coins out are taking cups of water out. When they sell the coin, they're dumping the cup back in. But these all make significant impacts on the overall volume of the bucket, right? Which is why big buys move the price up in Hex a lot, and big sells move the price down in Hex a lot. It's actually a feature designed into it, not a bug. So Hex liquidity providers are what I like to call smart money, where they actually tend to match the amount of liquidity in the USDC Hex pools to the relative amount of trading volume going on. Because if they made the pairs too liquid, the price would never be able to move. And if it was too illiquid, well, then obviously nobody would be able to cash out, right? You'd try to sell any little piece at all, and it would crash the whole market. So again, liquid enough, right? So and it's not binary, all right? There's no more liquid is better. Again, that's like saying more food is better. Like, you're going to get fat. Come on. So that's another interesting concept, too, is that in a way, automated market makers theoretically do tend to self-regulate. If a pair has high volume and high trading activity, people getting in and out a lot, this is actually better for the liquidity providers because they make more money on fees. And thus they probably attract more liquidity. And it's vice versa the other way around. Now, liquidity providers are also short volatility, which is another theoretical concept that I'm teaching you guys right now, which is they're averse to volatility, right? Short volatility basically just means liquidity providers gain the most when prices are flatlining and stable, right? Because people are getting in and out, and the liquidity providers are making all those transaction fees, but they don't have to suffer from impermanent loss because they don't have to risk being left holding a bag of one coin while the other coin that they put up in their liquidity pair ended up running away from them in price so high, and they're left holding the less expensive bag. So that's impermanent loss. There's a lot of concepts I'm going over, but the main thing I really need you to realize is that liquidity is a subset of supply, and it's the only thing that matters to you. And again, the liquidity conditions in Hex are super ideal because one, obviously, as I talked about earlier, it's pegged to the US dollar, but two, It is neither too liquid nor too illiquid, right? It's a very retail-friendly game. You see people trading in and out of Hex and profiting hundreds of thousands of dollars in a trade. I even saw a guy cash out $2 million in one go just a couple of days ago. Now you need to ask yourself, guys, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Well, with Bitcoin, where institutional money has basically corrupted the whole thing, and it's so hard for the price to budge anymore because the world's richest guys already bought, Grayscale's already in, all the institutions are already in. And you've got a lot of liquidity in Bitcoin, but it becomes harder to move the price up. And it also becomes an institutional game. Well, the thing about Hex is that it's still very retail friendly. You want to be trading in these ideal environments and get it while the getting is good, essentially. And that might only be for the next 2, 3, 4 years, right? Because once Hex really goes mainstream and once it hits that institutional adoption, it's no longer going to be a game that's friendly to the little guy. That's retail friendly, that actually gives you a chance at life-changing financial wealth. Once the Grayscale of Hex is formed, and Wall Street gets here, well, they're going to be playing Wall Street games, and you're not invited, and neither am I, right? So that's why I like to get in when it's still very retail friendly right now. And you got to ask yourself, right, is it liquid enough for you? And I'm sure whoever I'm talking to right now, chances are you're not going to be cashing out more than a couple $100,000 at a time. And I wouldn't recommend that because it's not going to be great in terms of slippage on the automated market makers. But for people like you and I, that's a ton of money. That's a couple of years worth of salary if I cashed out, a couple $100,000. So you're able to do that now in Hex. And you're also able to buy up the price significantly. If you're a big, rich individual, you're actually able to affect the price a lot for everybody. And this makes it a fun game. But the people that you see trading in and out of Hex are for the large majority right now retail. And you and I as retail only care that there's enough liquidity for us to not have to suffer from slippage, which is the last concept I'll talk about, which is really just that volume differential, right? When you take the mug out of the bucket, the amount of water it takes away relative to the rest of the bucket, that volume delta, that's your slippage, basically. In a metaphor that's not a great metaphor, but I'm trying, okay? So slippage is how much you'll push the price against you if you sell or buy, basically, because if you're buying up the price 5%, well, if that delta of 5% means you're getting a 5% worse deal than if you would have made, a smaller order, right? So my rant is over for the day, guys. At the end of it all, market cap doesn't matter, liquidity does. And if you're on Team Hex and Team PulseChain, congratulations, because you're in the know about a lot of this technical stuff that a lot of the rest of crypto, the people that just got in the last year or two, they don't really realize yet. So people in Hex are very smart, okay? And they understand these things, and when they understand these things, their ability to make decisions and make money on these things is a lot better as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. As always, like, subscribe, share, comment. It all helps the algorithm, and it helps make Hex and PulseChain go viral. It's going to pump your own bags. So thanks for coming by. I'll see you on the next video.